Hello and welcome. I'm Asuma Katauka and you are watching NewsX World. Let's take a look at some of the top stories. Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney arrived in Kyiv as a special guest for Ukraine's Independence Day, vowing unwavering support and backing a just and lasting peace. His visit comes as Russian forces claim new gains in Donetsk, with the three-year war showing little sign of a settlement. US President Donald Trump's envoy, Keith Kellogg, has also attended Ukraine's Independence Day celebrations in Kyiv. President Volodymyr Zelensky has confirmed Kellogg's presence as Ukraine courts Trump's support to pressure Russia to end its 3.5-year invasion. Russia says a Ukrainian drone strike damaged a transformer at the Kursk nuclear power plant, starting at a fire that was quickly put out with no casualties or radiation leaks reported. The incident came as Ukraine celebrates Independence Day, while the UN nuclear watchdog urged both sides to show restraint around atomic facilities. Tens of thousands joined pro-Palestinian rallies in cities across Australia as tensions with Israel deepen after Canberra recognized a Palestinian state. Organizers claim some 350,000 people marched nationwide, though police put numbers far lower with large turnouts in Sydney, Melbourne, and Brisbane. Thick smoke rose above Gaza City after fresh Israeli strikes on Sunday, just 2 days after a UN-backed body declared the area in famine. The IPC says Gaza City and surrounding areas face catastrophic conditions, even as Israel presses its military campaign. Former Defense Minister Benny Gantz has called on Prime Minister Netanyahu to form a unity government with opposition members to secure the release of hostages in Gaza. The move would sideline far-right coalition partners who oppose any deal with Hamas, even as Israel threatens to destroy Gaza City if hostages are not freed. 3 former Sri Lankan presidents have condemned the jailing of a 76-year-old Ranil Wickremesinghe as calculated assault on democracy, calling the 55,000 state funds case frivolous. Wickremesinghe was rushed to intensive care in Colombo with serious health issues while in custody, fueling public outrage. Spain's 16-day heat wave from August 3rd to 18th was the most intense on record, with temperatures averaging 4.6 degrees above normal, according to the State Meteorological Agency reports. The heat surpassed the previous record set in July 2022, marking a new extreme in climate patterns. US President Donald Trump's envoy Keith Kellogg has attended Ukraine's Independence Day celebrations in Kyiv today, a symbolic show of support as the war enters its 4th year. President Volodymyr Zelensky has confirmed Kellogg's presence, underscoring Kyiv's effort to court backing from Washington in its bid to force Russia to end the invasion. On the front lines, Ukrainian forces marked the holiday with little respite. Commanders of the Lyud Joint Assault Brigade say their units are being deployed to Donetsk, stressing that the fight for sovereignty outweighs any celebration. Here's what some of the Ukrainian soldiers have said.
Звичайно, є певні переживання, є певний страх, але також існує наявна нотка цікавості, як воно, що воно. Також подобається відчуття адреналіну, а я впевнений, що це якраз зарядить тим самим адреналіном.
Я патріот до кісток, але коли цей день незалежності став днем боротьби, відчувається він трошки інакше. Він з присмаком, на жаль, поту і крові.
І тільки вже, мабуть, з роками і з початком 2014 року, коли вся країна піднялася на ну, як і війська, як і поліцейські, так і цивільні, волонтери піднялися на захист держави. І до повномасштабного вторгнення, ну, це відчуття гордості за свою державу. І готовність, ну, не покласти своє життя, а якомога довше прожити для захисту її кордонів і нашої землі.
Now, for this discussion, we're joined by Professor Oleksiy Haran. He's a professor of comparative politics, joins us live from University of Kyiv, Mohyla from Kharkiv, Ukraine. Thank you, Professor, for joining us today. Welcome to NewsX World. Now, how symbolic is this that, what are the strategic implications of publicizing U.S. involvement in Ukrainian national events like Keith Kellogg there?
Well, first of all, thank you for showing Ukrainian soldiers who are real heroes, who are fighting for independence and territorial integrity of Ukraine. And these soldiers, they have support from Ukrainian people. This is very, very important for us. Regarding the visit of General Kellogg to Kyiv, this is symbolic, yes. This demonstrates the solidarity with Ukraine, so this is really important. At the same time, I would like to stress that it seems that General Kellogg now is not the main person who is advising Trump on Ukraine. We know that in negotiations with Russia participated another Trump's advisor, Mr. Witkoff, who is not a diplomat, not a military, he's just a developer. And he is envoy of Trump to Middle East, and we saw that in Middle East there was no progress actually, and he was his envoy to Russia, and he made several very pro-Russian statements. So he do not understand what's going on in Ukraine, what are the historic backgrounds of Russian aggression. So in this sense, why I'm saying that? Because yes, so it's symbolic, the visit of General Kellogg, but we do not know who Mr. Trump is listening more. That's the question. And we also know Trump's, it's very difficult to predict what Trump will do. So far, after the meetings together with Ukrainian president, together with European partners of Ukraine, it seems that now Trump is persuaded not to give territorial concessions to Russia, like Crimea. Trump is saying it's important to stop the war. Trump is saying that there should be some security guarantees to Ukraine. This is important, but we do not know what kind of security guarantees he's thinking about. And American side now, under Trump leadership, they are saying that security guarantees should be provided by Europe, first of all, with some American participation. But we do not know exactly how it will look like.
And yes, you have also mentioned that President Trump, we do not know his exact stance. Where does he stand? What do you think, what ways can this symbolic gesture impact its U.S. relations with Russia?
Look, we think that it's very important not just to talk about symbols and not just to say good words, but to have deeds. Well, let's remember that President Trump, from the very beginning, he said it should be ceasefire. Just ceasefire, and then we can be engaged in talks. And he said that if Russia do not stop their bombardments of Ukraine, if Russia doesn't want a ceasefire, then there should be sanctions. That he was ready, to impose sanctions. And he put several deadlines, and Russians didn't meet this deadline, so they continued bombarding of Ukraine, including civilians. When we're talking about bombardments from Russia, it's not so about military targets, it's about civilians who are dying actually who are bombarded on the territory of the whole Ukraine. And Ukraine is a very large country. Well, it's not like India, but according to European standards, it's kind of, the size of France. So Putin didn't do any steps towards stopping the bombardments of Ukraine. And Trump didn't follow his own words. He didn't introduce sanctions. If he increases sanctions, that would be a strong signal. That would be a real strong signal to Russia. But so far, Putin hears some, threats from Trump, but some warnings from Trump, but Trump is doing nothing in this regard. And that's why, Putin is thinking that, okay, we may continue, we may propose peace, some peace, so-called peace deals, but we will continue, bombardments of Ukraine. So that's why we think it's important to send this strong message and signal to Putin. Don't do that. Let's have a ceasefire.
Yes, indeed. Thank you very much, Professor Alexei Haran, for joining us. And once again, happy Independence Day to Ukraine. Now we move on to our next news. South Korean President Lee Jae-myung made his first overseas trip and is expected to land in Washington. Before going to Washington, he made a stop at Japan. In Japan, Lee met with the Japanese Prime Minister Shigeru Ishiba for a bilateral summit. In Tokyo and Seoul, they have released their first joint statement in 17 years, committing to stronger cooperation on AI, trade, and denuclearization of the Korean Peninsula. They also revealed plans to establish a joint task force to address common challenges, including aging populations and declining birth rates. Let's hear what the Japanese Prime Minister Shigeru Ishiba and South Korean President Lee Jae-myung has said.
安全保障、経済安全保障分野については、現下の戦略環境の下、両国間の戦略的な意思疎通を強化していくことで一致をいたしました。このような観点から、日韓時間戦略対話の早期開催に加え、日韓時間戦略対話の早期開催に加え、防衛当局間の対話の枠組みも活用しつつ、日韓米協力の観点からも、日韓間の協力の強化を模索していく考えでございます。
급변하는 국제 정세 속에서 흔들림 없는 한일, 한미일 협력이 무엇보다 중요하다는 점에 인식을 같이 하며 한일 관계 발전이 한미일 협력 강화로 이어지는 선순환을 만들어 가기로 하였습니다. 한반도의 완전한 비핵화와 항구적 평화 구축 의지를 재확인하고 대북 정책에서 긴밀한 공조를 지속하기로 하였습니다.
Now for this discussion, we're joined by Dr. Satoru Nagao. He's a fellow at Hudson Institute, joins us live from Tokyo. Thank you, Doctor, for joining us again. Good to see you. Doctor, can you tell us briefly about why it took them 17 years to release a joint statement between Korea and Japan, South Korea and Japan, and also how significant is this?
This was important, especially under the Prime Minister Shinzo Abe, which tried to make Japan more presence in the world stage. In this case, the problem is, for a long time, Japan's policy, foreign policy is try to be low profile. So Prime Minister Shinzo Abe need to change this drastically. But view from the South Korea, view from the China, if Japan try to show the strong presence in the world stage, this is dangerous, and this is one kind of prohibited topic. So that's why they strongly resisted. For example, the Prime Minister Shinzo Abe visited Yasukuni Shrine, tried to respect the sacrifice for their country. This is very important part for the strong Japan. But when the Prime Minister Shinzo Abe addressed in the Indian Parliament, he said that strong Japan is India's interest and strong India is Japan's interest, something like that he said. So this is his policy. But South Korea tried to prevent such kind of situation because South Korea afraid Japan's rise. But 70 years later, just now, both Japan and South Korea start to realize rise of China is more serious threat, and North Korea and Russia cooperate with China is a matter of concern, and Japan and South Korea both face a bigger threat. So under such kind of situation, they should cooperate each other. Japan is not the main threat for South Korea. The China, North Korea, Russia, this collaboration, if we include Iran, this is clink, we say. So that's why the security situation has changed drastically. That was the difference between this 70 years ago and 70 years later now.
And Doctor, building on that, what implication might President Lee's visit to both Tokyo and Washington have on the broader U.S., South Korea, Japan trilateral dynamic?
Indeed, in this case, worry is the U.S.-South Korea relations because President Trump is right and President Lee is left, and President Trump dislikes Lee. There are many signs President Trump does not like President Lee. So that's why the U.S.-South Korea summit should be the first one for South Korea, but delayed, and now the South Korea visit Japan first, and after that he will visit the United States. But when he visit Japan, so he can get advice from the Japanese Prime Minister Shigeru Ishiba. So because he have already met President Trump 2 times, so that's why what should they do is good advice for the President Lee. But South Korea and the United States, there are some issues. Tariff negotiation has already finished, but at the same time, the United States demands both Japan and South Korea to raise the defense budget. And in this case, the NATO standard is the base for the request, demand, because currently the South Korea's defense budget is 2.3% of the GDP, but the United States demand is 5% of the GDP is standard. This is NATO standard. So this means that South Korea need to increase the defense budget nearly double. More than double. So that's for, but South Korea faces many problems in the defense issue. For example, the aging society, the declining number of the younger people. So even if the conscription system, the number of the soldiers has declined in the 5 years ago, this is nearly the 560,000 troops that they have, but now 450,000. So that's why the number is decreasing. South Korea's military is decreasing. So budget is increasing, the more good equipment they will get. But at the same time, increase the budget and increasing the soldier number, that is not easy to get. So South Korea needs something special budget to increase the defense budget. So they face a problem, but the U.S. demand is very strong, and the U.S. spending is 3.5% of the GDP for the defense. But so purely the defense 3.5%, but another 1.5% is defense-related budget. NATO accepted, 32 countries accepted, so now the Asian allies should accept it. That is my current situation. And China is used more, of course, that's why this is understandable. But at the same time, how to find the budget is a very tough situation for the South Korea. So personal relation between Trump and President Lee is a matter, but another one is defense budget is a matter. So that's why he visited Japan and talked with Japanese Prime Minister to how to deal with this situation when the President Lee met President Trump. That is topic. That was the topic between 2 countries I had.
Thank you very much, Dr. Satoru Nagawa, for giving us the insight of the background between their talk. Thank you very much. Now we move on to our next news. In South Korea, special prosecutors have filed a request to detain former Prime Minister Han Duck-soo over his role in the country's martial law crisis. The move marks a new phase in the far-reaching investigation into the December 2024 declaration that rocked Seoul's democracy. Han was reinstated earlier this year as acting president after the Constitutional Court overturned his own impeachment. The same court in April confirmed the impeachment of ousted President Yoon Suk-yeol, permanently removing him from office. Yoon now faces criminal charges, including insurrection. Yoon's martial law order last December banned political activity, suspended press freedoms, and sparked protests, and a rare unanimous move in parliament to lift it within hours. The case remains the most serious political crisis in South Korea since democratization, with both a former president and his prime minister under investigation. Now we go back to our guest discussion with Dr. Satoru Nagao. He's a fellow at Hudson Institute, joins us live from Tokyo. Thank you, Dr. Satoru, for staying with us. Now, how might this simultaneous legal actions against both former President Yoon Suk-yeol and Prime Minister Han affect South Korea's political stability, both domestically and internationally?
Of course, former president, did not follow as a democratic process. That was a problem. What happened in December last year, the former President Yoon tried to do was a problem. So that's why continuing this issue itself is the damaging image of the South Korea's democracy. That is true. But at the same time, public opinion towards President Yoon is still divided. Nearly half of the South Koreans support him. So because of his political stance itself was not so popular in the South Korea, and so that's why the current president's support is also another half. So half and half is the current situation in the South Korea's public opinion. Under such kind of situation, the judiciary system need to deal with, of course, the law, but at the same time, in the South Korea's politics, judiciary system also care about the public opinion in the South Korea. So that's why if this cause issue is prolonged a little long for a long time, because of the change of the public opinion, it will affect decision of the court. That is a concerning point, and which direction finally they will reach is uncertain in the South Korea. This is the future of the South Korea's politics. Generally, the judicial system has more power to decide independently, but in case of South Korea politics has more power to decide the decision of the judicial system. So that's why a little bit uncertain. The prolong means that result will be unclear. But that is the situation, I think.
And Dr. Satoru, building on that, could this be seen as a turning point in strengthening or undermining public trust in those institutions by Korean people?
It relies on the policy of the popularity of the current government, I think, because institution itself, of course, this is a matter of concern, but most important part of the South Korea's politics is politics. So that's why if the current government is quite enough popularity they get, in this case, former President Yoon cannot get the advantage and cannot recover the image. But if the current government fails, that is completely opposite. So that's why the politics decide judicial decision. That is feature of the South Korea politics, I think.
Thank you very much, Dr. Satoru Nagao, for always joining us and sharing your insight throughout our news. Thank you very much. Now we move on to our next news. The Nigerian Air Force, NAF, says it has killed at least 35 armed fighters in airstrikes near the Cameroon border, following intelligence of a planned attack on troops. The strikes carried out on Saturday in the Kamshe area of Borno State targeted 4 militant hideouts, NAF spokesperson Ehimen Ejodame has said. Ground forces later confirmed the situation had been stabilized. The operation comes amid a surge in assaults by Boko Haram and Islamic State West Africa province, which have recently overrun military bases in the northeast. The 16-year insurgency has killed more than 35,000 people and displaced over 2 million, according to the United Nations. Last week, the U.S. approved a proposed $346 million weapons sale to Nigeria, aimed at strengthening its fight against these armed groups. Now for this discussion, we go to Thomas Porteous. He's my colleague and anchor and correspondent at NewsX World. Thomas, thank you for joining. What more can you tell us about the situation in Nigeria?
Well, yes, Asuma, there has been these airstrikes calculated by the Nigerian military on Borno State, an area which has violence frequented on it during this insurgency, which has lasted around the space of 4 years. We've seen around 30,000 people who have died due to this conflict, which has lasted since 2009 and displaced over 2 million people. There has been mass humanitarian crisis, including food shortages and displacement caused by this. Insurgent groups include the likes of Boko Haram and other Islamist groups from the area. We don't know that much due to the fact that coming out of the region, information that is withdrawn is restricted and also isn't as trustworthy as other news agencies. However, the limited information as we got it is that 35 insurgents have been killed by Nigeria's military today. And of course, when we get it, we will bring you more information going forward.
Thank you very much, Thomas, for sharing that insight. Now we move on to our next news. China is bracing for Typhoon Kajiki, which has reportedly intensified into a powerful storm. The storm center was located about 200 kilometers southeast of Sanya, with maximum sustained winds of 38 meters per second, and is expected to strengthen further as it tracks northwest. Sanya, the resort city in Hainan Island, has shut businesses, closed tourist attractions, and suspended public transport. More than 20,000 people have been evacuated, and over 30,000 fishing vessels are recalled to shore. All rail, ferry, and high-speed train services on the island have also been suspended. Authorities warned the typhoon could make landfall between Lingshui and Ledong later in the day, or move along Hainan's southern coast before moving towards Vietnam. Moreover, Guangdong province to the north has also closed ports, ferries, and scenic sites as winds pick up. The National Meteorological Center has issued high-level typhoon alerts, and forecasters say Kajiki could reach Vietnam's coast by Monday afternoon. This is all we have time for. We will continue to bring you more news updates from around the world.